It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
The NCAA tournament is now down to its Elite Eight. Great games last night. Well, 2 great games last night. 6 of the 8 Sweet 16 games were absolute duds, double-digit whitewashes. But yesterday we finally get some good basketball. Syracuse tops Gonzaga 63-60. They use a couple of late defensive stands to advance to the Elite Eight. I tell you what, Syracuse, they didn't deserve to be in the tournament. I will maintain that stance. The Orange did not deserve to be in the NCAA tournament, but they are playing well at the right time, and they have had a fortunate draw. I mean, they got to play 7-seeded Dayton and win. They got the 15-seed Middle Tennessee State after they upset Michigan State. And then they beat Gonzaga, who's better than an 11 seed, but they still beat an 11 seed on their way to the Elite Eight. So look, you can only play who's on your schedule. Syracuse doesn't need to make apologies. They have had a fortunate road, but they don't need to make apologies. The Orange with a win last night. Notre Dame comes back and beats Wisconsin 61-56, and really just a late game meltdown by Bronson Koenig and the rest of the Badgers. They turn it over multiple times inside the last minute, including a big steal by Demetrius Jackson for the Irish. So the Irish advance to the Elite Eight. And then North Carolina, they put up 101 on Indiana. North Carolina looks really, really good. I mean, for a team that doesn't shoot the ball well from the outside, 30% from 3, one of the worst in the country all season long. They started out 6 of 6 from 3 yesterday. And that is what happens in a one-and-done scenario. You get things that sometimes they buck the trend, and North Carolina did that yesterday. And then Virginia wipes the floor with Iowa State 84-71. So the Elite Eight is set. Today it's Villanova and Kansas, Oregon and Oklahoma, North Carolina, Notre Dame, Virginia, Cuse. Those games tomorrow. It is Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. A weird feeling for me today, actually, coming in after somebody. So Kip Kirby, great job, Kip. He's still hanging around the studio. Great job to him. His first installment of the Upstate Golf Show. And, Kip, you did a great job, but you got out a little late. So I came in 30 seconds late, but it was your first show. You did a great job. And I tell you what, I really love the interview you did with Brian Bigley. So that's going to be the new lineup on Saturday mornings. It's going to be the Upstate Golf Show, 8 to 9, and it's going to be Capital Region Sports Saturday from 9 to 10. I'm going to give my predictions for the Elite Eight. Who's going to the Final Four? We're going to do that right at the end of the show, right around 9:50. I'll give you my predictions on who is going to the Final Four, and then ultimately who is going to cut down the nets in Houston. I tell you this, my original choice was Kansas. I had 2 brackets. Michigan State was winning one of them. Kansas is winning the other. I like the Jayhawks. I like Wayne Selden. I like Perry Ellis. 27 the other night in the Sweet 16. I like Frank Mason Jr. Bill Self's won a national championship before, even though he has a negative reputation to him in that he doesn't really coach all that well in big games, which is why his teams have had losses in the first round to Bucknell, to Bradley, to Northern Iowa. Kansas has a propensity to be upset, but this year they look very, very good. And North Carolina, wow. Yesterday they put up 101 in a 40-point game. Unbelievable. Marcus Page, Bryce Johnson, if they are playing well, they very well be unbeatable. Oklahoma's got the best player in the tournament in Buddy Hield. Oregon gets up and down the court. Virginia's second in the nation in defense, in defense points per game. So there are probably 5 bona fide contenders to win the national championship. I don't think Villanova can do it. I don't think Syracuse can do it. And I don't think that Oregon can do it. But at 9:50, I will give you my predictions as to who is going to win the national championship. But before I give my predictions, I got to get on the phone with Paul Lucas. Paul Lucas, the uniform columnist. That's right. Uniform columnist. Grader of aesthetics. He is at ESPN.com, uniform columnist for ESPN.com. Paul, I have picked brackets for, the last 20 years. And I've won a handful of times. Not many, but a handful. This year, I was done by about 4 o'clock on Friday of the first weekend. Michigan State losing totally did me in this year. So, Paul, we went to Vegas. We went to Professors of Bracketology to try to get all the info. I listened to those guys. And I said to myself, all right, I'm going to win this year. And then I was done. Nobody knows anything. I'm going with the uniform theory. So Paul Lucas, ESPN uniform columnist, based on the uniform theory, before I give my predictions at the end of the show, who should my national champion be?
Well, I just did my Sweet 16 rankings up on ESPN.com. And, sometimes, the on-court performance and aesthetics completely align. And they just line right up. And that is the case, I would say, with North Carolina, which, of course, is the number one seed and is the best-looking team in the tournament. I mean, sometimes people say, they read my stuff and they say, oh, you're a traditionalist. And I say, no, I'm a classicist. And the difference is a traditionalist says, oh, don't change anything because I just don't want to change anything. And a classicist says, don't change anything because it works. Classics are classic for a reason. And UNC, it's the perfect design. You got that arched lettering, above and below the number. You've got that Argyle trim up the side. You got the Carolina blue. That's a great-looking team. Also happens to be a great performing team. And to me, if I were doing a bracket just based on the uniforms, they would definitely be my number one seed.
Paul, is there a method to this madness? I mean, we're talking about uniform rankings. Is it all based on personal preference? Do you have some kind of formula? How do you get to these conclusions?
For me, it's just, it's personal preference. It's, and that's, you could say, oh, everyone's got an opinion, and that is true. And, that's how does a movie critic get to be a movie critic? Everyone has an opinion on movies. I've been doing this for almost 20 years. I've got my opinions. They're just my opinions. They're no more, they're no more valid than anybody else's. But they are based on a long time of watching sports and looking at design and assessing design. And some things work better than others. For example, UNC, that works really well. Then you look, down at the bottom of my rankings, you got Texas A&M wearing, like several of the other teams that are outfitted by Adidas, wearing that kind of shoulder harness, color blocking on the shoulders, and that the striping on the shorts that looks like a cummerbund from a tuxedo. We first saw that. The Adidas schools were wearing that last March. They've kept it up this March. It's a terrible, terrible look. And, I'm kind of surprised they brought it back for 2016 because so many people were ridiculing it last year.
Paul Lucas, ESPN uniform columnist, with us on Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. Paul, how grateful should my eyes be that a Sweet 16 matchup between Oregon and Baylor didn't happen? My corneas are very grateful for that.
Yeah. That would have been one where you were thinking, like, is there a switch where I can just sort of tone down the colors or switch my TV to black and white? We see this trend with these neon or fluorescent colors or, if it's Nike, they call it Volt. The other outfitters have similar tones with other names. And so, the only team left with that kind of color pattern is Oregon. They actually have two different neon yellow uniforms that they've worn so far in the tournament. We may see even more, or maybe they'll switch to white, or who knows? This is Oregon. They may surprise us at any given moment. I'm kind of hoping for a title game, and this could work out the way it's shaping up now. Title game of UNC versus Oregon, because that would be the perfect clash of styles, the perfect comparison of old school versus newfangled, and that, to me, that's always an interesting thing when you can compare these two different aesthetic styles. It's just like we had in the, I think it was the 2011 college football title game when you had Oregon up against Auburn. So again, it was like the new school, the newfangled thing, the futuristic thing against the classic old school thing.
Paul, you're talking about newfangled and futuristic, and I'm going to have to put a picture of this one up on our Twitter at 1045 The Team when we're off the phone here. Heading to baseball season, please tell me, what are the Arizona Diamondbacks doing? You cannot be a fan of this.
I am not a fan of most of what they're doing. What aren't they doing? They got so much going on this year. For the simplest and most obvious thing, if you watch the Diamondbacks on the road, you're going to notice that they are not wearing the standard road grays. They're wearing something closer to like a road charcoal. It's a really dark gray that they've got going on. And so, they've got all these different jerseys that they pair it with. Sometimes it's, a gray jersey, but they also have a red jersey and a black jersey. But they'll always have these dark gray pants on the road. And those are something to see, especially for a night game. They kind of blend into the background. But then they also have, for all their different uniforms, and they have a lot of mix and match combos this year, they have these pants that sort of do a reverse fade from the base color of the fabric, whether it's white or dark gray, to a solid color as it goes down toward the pant cuff. And, their main team color is red. So you've got their white home pants that are white and then sort of fade into this deep red down at the base of the pant cuff, and it looks basically like they're bleeding. It looks like their shins or their Achilles tendons or their heels or whatever are soaked in blood. It's a ridiculous look. It's one of those we're going to do it different just to be different kind of things. And, sometimes that works. It has historically. There have been examples of teams that tried to switch things up and sort of stumbled into something that became iconic. I don't think that's going to be the case with this one.
Paul, while the Diamondbacks are going futuristic and new school, the Pittsburgh Pirates are going old school. It looks like they're going to be wearing black pants on Sundays.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you call it old school. What the Pirates are doing, they've always had a Sunday throwback. And so for the last several seasons, they were using, I believe it was a 1971 throwback from like the end of Roberto Clemente's career with the mustard tones and all that. And now they've swapped that one out this year, and their new Sunday throwback for Sunday home games is the 1979 We Are Family Bumblebee style throwback, and it's got the pillbox hat and the whole thing, and that's the uniform they wore, of course, when they won the World Series in 1979. And it's funny that you call that old style because in 1979 that was considered pretty radical. The Pirates had all these mix and match combinations: the black pants, the gold pants, the black jersey, the gold jersey, the white jersey, the white jersey with the gold pinstripe. They had all this stuff going on. They were constantly mixing and matching. And they were actually in the forefront and the vanguard of what was seen as a newfangled, futuristic approach to uniform design at the time. And now, everything is relative, right? 45 years later, or almost am I doing my math right there? About 40 years later. That now we look back at that as classic and old school. So, it's possible something like what the Diamondbacks are doing this year. Maybe several decades down the road, we're going to look at that as classic and old school, but I don't think so.
I'm with you, Paul. And look, we are 6 months away from the first NFL game of the season, but it is an NFL society, so I have to ask you, if you could go to one front office and say, please, let me redesign your uniforms, who would it be? Who needs the most help in the NFL?
It's an interesting question because there's the teams that just look awful, and then there's the teams that have just stuck with the same thing for too long and could really use like a refresh. It's not that they look bad, it's just that they've gotten stale. I would say the single biggest problem in the NFL uniform-wise is the Jacksonville Jaguars helmet, that two-tone helmet. And, if you change that helmet, the rest of their uniform, while I'm not in love with it, is like a sort of unified piece of kind of new school, newfangled kind of superhero costume, uniform as superhero costume design. And if they just had a helmet that wasn't so embarrassing, sometimes you see something and you say, I don't like that, but I understand the idea behind it. And then you see something like that two-tone Jaguars helmet, and it's like, not only do I not like that, but I don't even understand what they were trying to do there. And unfortunately, in the NFL, when you have a uniform, you're locked into it for 5 years. League guidelines say you can't change it for 5 years. I think we're looking at the fourth year coming up of that Jaguars helmet. So even if they want to change it, and I'm not sure they do, we're stuck with it for a little bit longer.
Paul Lucas, ESPN uniform columnist. I could do this all day, but Paul, we're going to let you go. We appreciate you being with us.
Always a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Paul Lucas, man. I seriously, I could talk to that guy all day. Uniforms, jerseys, hats. It's all my thing. It's all right in my wheelhouse. So Paul says North Carolina is the team I should go with if I'm going on the uniform theory. I'm debating still. I told you, I got 5 choices before the end of the show that I can pick to win a national championship. Kansas, Oklahoma, North Carolina, Virginia, and then maybe Oregon. Maybe Oregon. So I got 5 choices, and the uniform theory says I should go with North Carolina. Again, 9:50, I'm giving my predictions. It's 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com. It's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda. Look, college basketball isn't the only thing in the NCAA tournament going on this weekend. College hockey at the Times Union Center. It's coming up today, and I'll break it down next.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
college hockey today at the Times Union Center. It is the NCAA East Regional, the Sweet 16, essentially, the first round. So basically, you will get a winner, 2 winners today, 4 teams, 2 games, 2 winners. You will get a winner tomorrow, and then you will have teams continuing on in the NCAA tournament. Today's matchup, 4 o'clock, you've got Quinnipiac, and RIT, and at 7:30, you have UMass Lowell and Yale. Things you need to know about these teams. Quinnipiac is the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. 13 seasons in their last 16. They have at least 20 wins. They come in this year with 29 wins, the most wins in program history. They are the number 1 seed in the tournament. They will play today against RIT, who was the last seed in the tournament. Good news, if you are a Quinnipiac Bobcat fan, Quinnipiac has scored the first goal in its games 29 times this year. Bad news if you're an RIT fan. RIT has allowed the first goal 23 times this year. So the Bobcats certainly seem to have the advantage in that game. RIT is really, really, again, the last team in the tournament. They are, the Tigers, can they present a challenge to Quinnipiac? I really don't think they can. The Bobcats are too good. Bobcats are a team that RPI had on the ropes twice, should have beaten twice, even though they are the number 1 seed in the tournament, the number 1 team in the nation. RPI had Quinnipiac beaten. I don't think RIT gives Quinnipiac much of a challenge today. On the other matchup, Yale taking on UMass Lowell. A lot of experts picking UMass Lowell to win. UMass Lowell is a team that struggles coming from behind, though. So if Yale can get a lead, then they have a chance to beat UMass Lowell. UMass Lowell is a very good team. They're incredibly physical. They're 0-5 when trailing after 1 period of play, 0-6 when trailing after 2 periods of play. So if Yale can get a lead on UMass Lowell, they can knock out one of the favorites. Every single national expert that I've seen has picked either Quinnipiac or UMass Lowell to win this regional. But UMass Lowell, 0-6 when trailing after 2 periods, 0-5 when trailing after 1. If Yale can get an early lead and maintain that early lead, then they have a chance. And Yale has a very, very accomplished scorer. Alex Lyon, he leads the nation in goals against at 159. What a goaltender he is. He had 5 shutouts in 30 games played, good for 6th in the country. So Alex Lyon, one of the top goaltenders in the entire nation, on display at the Times Union Center today. Again, those games 4 and 7:30. It is Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number 1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. A big week this week for history. So not only earlier in the week do we have Cuba opening its doors to Major League Baseball, you had a big league game between the Rays and the Cuban national team. You also had a big week in New York. And in New York, MMA, UFC, mixed martial arts was legalized. A ban of nearly 20 years had been in place on MMA, and now that ban is lifted, and UFC says they could have 3 to 4 events per year in New York. Starting is probably about 6 months once you get some legal red tape cut away. So a lot of regulations have to be put in, make sure that the sport is safe, insurance for the fighters, things like that, get the venues in line. So we're about 6 months away from events being held in UFC. 3 to 4 of them per year could be held in the state of New York. Earlier this week, Assembly Majority Leader Joe Morelli talked about MMA, why it should be legalized.
Mixed martial arts is a real sport. It's an incredibly popular sport. It's growing very fast in the United States. And what we ought to be doing is making certain that participants in particular have a regulatory framework which protects them, that makes certain that when they're injured in a ring that we have medical exams, that we reauthorize them going back into the ring and fighting again. And so protections and a regulatory environment which is aware of the implications of what is, admittedly a violent sport, can be realized. So I thought that far outweighed the need to, express our opinion about the violence in sports, particularly since, mixed martial arts competitions that are amateur where the participants don't get paid have not been stopped in New York, are not banned outright.
That was Assembly Majority Leader Joe Morelli earlier this week on the decision to legalize mixed martial arts fighting in New York, and it's a good day. It's a good decision, and I understand the criticism of MMA. I understand that it makes people uncomfortable to see that level of violence, to see cage fighting. People think it sends the wrong message. They don't want their kids to watch it. I understand all of that. It makes me a little uncomfortable to watch MMA. I'm starting to get into it because I like the theatrics of it. I like the Conor McGregors. I like the confidence of a Ronda Rousey. I like the trash talk back and forth in the way that boxing used to provide that kind of stuff. So I like a lot of MMA, but I don't necessarily love just watching people pummel each other inside the octagon. If you don't like it, okay, fine. That's your decision not to consume the product, but the product deserves to be out there. Okay, it's legal in 49 other states. It is now legal in 50. New York was the last to legalize it. Economically, this is going to create a lot of opportunity for New York because you can host MMA events, and it's a large following for events. You can host it at Madison Square Garden. You can host them at the Times Union Center. You can host them at the Carrier Dome. You can host them in Rochester. You can host them in Buffalo. You can host them in Utica. There are a lot of places in this state, big arenas, to hold mixed martial arts fighting events. And again, so that's going to create economic opportunities, ticket sales, community revenue as you get people coming in to take in these fights. It's going to help local businesses. The state's going to get a product of licensing fees and television rights and broadcast deals. All of that is important economic development for the state. If you want the state of New York to be successful financially, then you need to welcome these kind of opportunities. If you don't want to be the person to support MMA, I understand that. That is 100% your decision. But the state made the right move to legalize the sport. There's a lot of people that don't like horse racing in New York State. But think about how much money is in Saratoga during track season. You may not like it, but Saratoga has a lot of money based on track season. Look at Cooperstown and baseball. Look at how much money Cooperstown makes just because of baseball. Now, baseball isn't offensive to people in the way that MMA or the track would be, but there are reasons why these things deserve to be legalized because they bring in a lot of economic money. And if they can figure out ways, again, to keep the fighters safe and have insurance and all that, then I'm 100% on board. Your choice to consume the product or not consume the product, but it is the right move to legalize mixed martial arts. I'm glad the Assembly voted in favor of this. And think about what this means athlete-wise. I mean, Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, two of the most polarizing athletes that we have right now, you're going to get a chance to see potentially right here in Albany. That is something to be excited about. And again, a good move by the New York State Assembly to legalize MMA this week. It's 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com. It's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. I am Brady Farkas, your host, taking you all the way up until 10 o'clock. Weather's starting to turn, everybody. Major League Baseball starts in a week and a half. High school baseball, high school lacrosse just getting underway. And Ian Anderson named a first-team All-American by Baseball America. The Shen Hurler, he's going to be a top 10 draft pick. He's going to be a top 10 draft pick. I have no doubt in my mind that if he stays healthy, this kid out of high school will get drafted in the top 10. And that would be 3 years in a row. You get a first-round pick out of the Capital Region. Jeff Hoffman 2 years ago. Garrett Whitley last year. Ian Anderson will be this year. He's supposed to go to Vanderbilt. I don't think there's any way that he makes it to the Commodores. I think when you have a 92 to 96 mile an hour fastball, I even heard a report he hit as high as 97 in this offseason. I've only ever seen him hit as high as 94. But just say he's at 95 and a half miles an hour. You're 18 years old. You throw 95 miles an hour with a developed changeup and a good breaking ball. Ian Anderson is one of the most polished prep arms, if not the most polished prep arm in the entire country. And he's a first-team All-American by Baseball America heading into this high school season. Ian Anderson will be a pick for somebody in round one and early in round one. And just like Mohawk Honda, they strive to be number one. Mohawk Honda tries to be number one by providing you the most impeccable customer service because that is the key to any success. At Mohawk Honda, they try to do things right all the time for their family of customers. They have over 1,000 new and pre-owned vehicles. They have extended hours in all their departments to better service you. You can shop over 10 acres of savings opportunities online, or you can go in or you can go online 24/7 at MohawkHonda.com, and they will provide you the lowest, no-hassle prices to better suit your budget. A business can have everything, but without providing the customer with the professional service experience they have always been looking for, nothing else really matters. So that's why Mohawk Honda focuses on great products and great customer service. Shop the convenient Route 50 in Glenville location to join the #1 automotive family of Mohawk Honda, where they always go out of their way to please you. Local people doing big things. Carmen Massarello, assistant basketball coach at George Washington. He's got the Colonials in the NIT Final Four. He's going to join us next.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
Yes, we are back, and we are on the phone right now with the Capital Region basketball legend. It's Carmen Massarello, the Shen grad, the Siena grad, who's a member of the Capital District Basketball Hall of Fame. Well, he's also the assistant basketball coach at George Washington University. The Colonials in the NIT Final Four. They're taking on San Diego State on Tuesday, March 29th. Coach, congratulations. If people are going to see your team play for the first time against the Aztecs, what are we going to see? Run and gun? You're going to slow it down? How does your team play?
We'll be kind of a hybrid by, play through the high post some with Kevin Larson, who's from Denmark, great player, probably our best passer. Tyler Kavanaugh, a local Syracuse guy. We'll get him the ball and some isolations at the high post and at the low block as well. And then Patricio Guarinos from Argentina, Argentinian national team player. Yuta Watanabe, a sophomore from Japan. He should be on their national team. And then Joe McDonald's our point guard. We're a tough team. We like to, look at mismatches. We'll run a lot of sets in the half court. When it is there in transition, we will push the ball and look to go inside early and then kind of play off of that and, try to mess you up a little bit on the defensive end, too, with some 1-3-1 and some 2-3 and, some man-to-man.
The goal going into every season, Coach, is to make the NCAA tournament. That didn't happen for you guys at George Washington. We've had this talk with Jimmy Patsos and Will Brown at Siena and Albany. Is it difficult to get your guys motivated to play in a tournament that isn't the NCAA?
No, these core group of seniors, and then we got a grad transfer, Alex Matola, who graduated from Dartmouth in 3 years. These guys are hungry kids. They realize we missed some opportunities early in the season. We're up 13 on the road at St. Louis and, end up giving that lead up, had 2 free throws to make it a 4-point game, gave up 3, and then ended up losing that one before Christmas, lost that to Paul. We beat Seton Hall, who won the Big East tournament. We beat them at home and blew out Rutgers at home. And, we go on the road before Christmas, and I think guys were thinking about going home and thinking, hey, we just beat DePaul the last season. And, go to a Big East team with a new staff, and they play with some energy, and we just didn't have an answer, didn't really show up. So, had a couple losses that people were scratching their head about, but, we were able to win at VCU. But these guys want to keep playing. These guys, they don't want the season to end. They're the ones that put GW basketball back on the map when Coach Lonergan first got this job here. And, he's really preached them about just leaving their legacy, and they want to do that. They want to get to the Garden. They want to be able to at least hang a banner saying we're NIT champions.
Carmen Massarello with us on Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. Carmen Massarello, a member of the Capital Region Hall of Fame and an assistant basketball coach at George Washington. Coach, I just mentioned Jimmy Patsos at Siena and Will Brown at Albany. I know you're not in the business of promoting other programs, but as a local guy, how gratifying is it for you to see Siena and Albany both having success?
Oh, love both those guys, both good friends. We get text messages, weekly basically from each of them, and we stay in touch. Love what Jimmy's done there. He's playing fast. He's got some nice talent. Nico Clarence was a great kid. He's still using his Baltimore connections from when he was at Loyola. Great staff. Another local guy on his staff, and Lou Jordan. It's just fun. People are spoiled in the Capital Region, with 2 great college basketball teams and great high school basketball, and I don't think a lot of them realize.
Carmen, I'm the resident Jimmer Fredette homer on staff. You coached Jimmer when he was with the City Rocks. It's another thing locally you've had your hand in. How good is Jimmer, and why can't he make it in the league? Because I don't understand it, to be honest with you.
Oh, Jimmer's great. I mean, I tell everyone the story, and I even preach to our guys here. He was so disciplined even in AAU. He'd come with, prepared meals and yogurt and waters and granola. And, he was just the epitome of a professional then, just taking everything serious. I think for him to stick in the NBA, I mean, he doesn't want to just be a specialist. I think he's a guy that needs to have the ball in his hands because he can shoot the ball. But on the defensive end, just a lot of teams are killing him, and they say he's a defensive liability. I haven't watched enough film of him in the NBA. I know he played well when he was in the D League, and hopefully he finds a team and it's the right fit, and he just gets a nice career. I mean, I think that's possible. Guys just need to stay the course, and I think he will because he's a great person.
Carmen Massarello with us, Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. Carmen, Section 2 talent has really, really blossomed over the last few years. Kevin Herter this year, Joe Cremo last year, Hamir Wright at Albany Academy, who you guys may have an interest in. We were told by Coach Brian Ferruccio earlier this week he'll graduate next year. Before that, it was Jimmer. It was James Thomas. It was Craig Forth. It was Andy Robinson. What is it like for you? How great is it to see Section 2 continue to put itself on the map?
So it's been great. You know, it's funny. Back when I was, 9th, 10th grade, I was a guy that wasn't even on Division I schools' radars. I had local high school coaches telling me it's so tough to go Division I. The only guys at that time, Terrence Durham, Tony Weiss, Kashif Hamid, those were like the three guys that had gone Division I. And you had a guy named Joe Tremark, who was a great player at Colony, ended up going to Quinnipiac when they were Division II. So a lot of the high school coaches in the region were like, hey, Carm, you're a good player. Why don't you go Division III and try to be an All-American, or go Division II? I visited St. Rose, and Brian Geary, great guy, another great local product there for basketball. And, I wanted to play against the best and prove I could do it. And I was able to do that through Jim Hart and the City Rocks, and just they were able to build that platform there. And there are hungry kids in the Capital Region who want to work on their game. And there are skill development guys now, with Steve D'Agostino, who's another local guy who played at Gilliland, who had a great career at St. Rose. And, it's just kind of elevated. And these platforms now, with the means and the resources and the facilities, has helped in the Capital District grow. But still, I think you got to get out of that small Capital Region mindset. I still think there's a lot of people that are kind of stuck in that. They'll see a kid have 30 or 20 in a game, and they'll see that he scored against, whatever level of competition it was, but they won't see how he scored those points, whether it's with an IQ or a great pass or, being able to make an open jump shot or having good footwork off a screen. I mean, people can play anywhere. I think you have to be able to recognize that talent and put it in the right kind of situation. So, the Capital Region has continued to grow basically because of all these great resources and all the good people there in the Capital Region that now are starting to believe more in their student athletes. I mean, like you said, James Thomas and Taylor Battle, we didn't mention him, and Mark Lyons. I had the pleasure of coaching all those guys. I think that was probably when the talent was the best then.
Carmen Massarello with us, 104.5 The Team, 104.5theteam.com. Along the same lines, last year we got to see Scotia win their second state title in a row. Shen, your and my alma mater, won a state title last year. How gratifying is it for you to see Section 2 teams now winning into state level as well?
Oh, no, that's great. I mean, it's funny, Shen, the last time they had won a section title was 96, the team I played on, until last year. I mean, that's almost 20 years. It was like 19 years it took them to win another section title. I know they got close to losing to CBA and some other teams. Coach Dilmel there does a great job. I mean, there's so many great coaches in the area with Hurley at Troy. And are they still playing? I think they were.
They lost in the state finals last weekend.
Okay. So, I mean, and that's another reason, though. You got a lot of great high school coaches that have kind of, upped the talent level and just brought Capital Region and Section 2 to the forefront now. And hopefully we can keep that up because, you still got all the people that believe in the city, too. And I still think upstate's great. And that gives our guys, too, a chip on their shoulder when they go against all these nationally ranked players head-to-head because obviously they'll get a little more love being from downstate.
George Washington, assistant basketball coach Carmen Massarello with us on Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda. He's got the Colonials in the NIT Final Four Tuesday night, March 29th, against San Diego State. That game in Madison Square Garden. Carmen, best of luck. Thanks for being with us, and keep on representing the Capital Region.
Appreciate your time, guys. Thanks so much.
There he goes, Carmen Massarello. Cool for me to to talk to a guy who went to Division I out of high school, and 20 years ago, really, before the Capital Region was really making waves at the Division I level, he was there and played at Shen like I did. So it was a really cool opportunity for me enjoy the opportunity to talk to Carmen Massarello. It is Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. So Duke loses in the NCAA tournament. I got to spend a minute on this. Duke loses in the NCAA tournament, and Grayson Allen refuses an embrace from Dylan Brooks, who's the Oregon star. So it's 79-68 with 26 seconds left. Oregon has the ball. Dylan Brooks has the ball. He's probably 8 feet behind the three-point line. And shot clock's running out. It's at 6. There's 20 seconds left in the game. And rather than take a shot clock violation or so, Dylan Brooks throws it up and hits a three-pointer. And then after the game, immediately goes to Grayson Allen and tries to give an embrace and shake his hand. And Grayson Allen kind of rebuffs him, turns him away. Well, I totally understand that because Dylan Brooks, I got news for you. When you're winning the game and you're running out the clock, I know the shot clock was going to run out, but guess what? You're up by 11. So don't add insult to injury. Don't play the game the wrong way. Don't be disrespectful. Take the shot clock violation, hand the ball to the ref, and then with 20 seconds left, let Duke do whatever they want as the losing team. That is how it is done. When you are the losing team, you play till the end. When you are the winning team, you play with respect. You don't have to fire up the shot. Now, I'm not crushing Dylan Brooks, a 20-year-old, because he took a shot at the end of a game. He'll learn better. In the same way, though, you, sports pundit, do not deserve to crush Grayson Allen. He may be a guy who trips players. You may not like him because he's a Duke University villain. But in this case, he is not wrong. A guy who shoots in my face up 11, I'm not going to shake his hand either 20 seconds after that. Dylan Brooks, after the game, said he didn't think he did anything wrong.
I didn't feel like we did anything wrong. I just played the same game I always played. And, these guys rally around me and rally around the way I play, so, I ain't going to change. But, no, I don't think anything went wrong.
He didn't play the same way he always plays. He generally doesn't shoot 8 feet behind the line in 11-point victories. Take the game, take the ball, take the shot clock violation, hand it to the official, let Duke do what they want. I understand why Grayson Allen did not want to shake his hand immediately after. Grayson Allen may be a punk, he may be a sore loser, but in this case, he was right. I would not want to embrace someone who just disrespected me like that either. So, Grayson Allen, I have your back. I know no one else does, but I do. It's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. Alex Rodriguez says he's retiring after 2017. I don't buy it, not for 1 second. That's next.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
Alex Rodriguez reportedly told Andrew Marchand of ESPN New York this week that he would retire at the end of the 2017 season. And then less than 24 hours later, A-Rod backtracked and said, no, not necessarily. My contract with the Yankees is up after 2017. I'll reevaluate then. Regardless of the fact, I don't think A-Rod is in any position to guarantee or not guarantee his retirement 2 years from now. Alex Rodriguez is 40 years old right now. He'll be 42 when we're in this same position going towards next season. Alex Rodriguez has an opportunity still to be a productive player. If he's a productive player at 42, somebody will want to take a flyer on him, even if it's not the Yankees. A-Rod hit 33 home runs last season. 33 home runs last season. If he hits 26 this year and 24 next year, you don't think someone else will take a chance on A-Rod to hit 20 home runs and drive in 68 runs? That would be better than a lot of players, even though A-Rod is 42. Even if A-Rod's not back with the Yankees, it's going to depend on, is he productive and is he healthy? And then also, by the way, don't forget that Alex Rodriguez is 75 home runs away from tying Barry Bonds' all-time home run record. Alex Rodriguez cares about his image, he cares about his ego, and he cares about being the best. That is what caused him to cheat and take steroids in the first place, that he couldn't handle being really good. He had to be the best ever. He was already great before he cheated. If A-Rod is in a position to go for that record, you don't think he's going to want it? He's absolutely going to want it. Alex Rodriguez would want and welcome the opportunity to go get Barry Bonds' record. He's 75 away. If he can hit 25, 25, and 25, absolutely. He's not going to walk away from the game if he's close to the home run record. Who would take a chance on a 42-year-old A-Rod? How about any team that is struggling that needs to sell tickets? That if they can make the biggest story of their season being a part of Alex Rodriguez's chase for history, you don't absolutely think that a team that's out to make money and be successful financially, you don't think that they're not going to go for A-Rod? If the Tampa Bay Rays are terrible in 2 years, Alex Rodriguez is from Florida. You don't think they would put him on their roster to be a DH and just try to chase history so they can sell some tickets? That's how every team in baseball is. A-Rod has to go to an American League team because he needs a DH. But a bad American League team would absolutely take a chance on an aging A-Rod if he's got a chance at the record. So Alex Rodriguez, he could say he's retiring in 2 years, or he can backtrack on it. I don't believe it either way. I think Alex Rodriguez will potentially have incentive to play because he can have a chance at the home run record. If he's close to it, I don't see him walking away. It's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. Local news, Albany, Connor Fields, star lacrosse player. So the last 3 years, all we've done is talk about the Thompsons for Albany, Lyle, Miles, and Ty. Well, Connor Fields is a stud as well for the Great Danes, and he was featured in the last edition of Sports Illustrated in the Faces in the Crowd segment. So if you read Sports Illustrated, Faces in the Crowd are athletes on a local level, high school, college, youth sports, that are doing big things. And Fields was highlighted for achieving over 100 points in his college career by just the fourth game in his sophomore season. He was America East Rookie of the Year last year. He's had strong early season performances and wins over Cornell and UMass. He stands through the games of the past weekend. Fields is second in the America East and 15th in Division I in points per game. Paolo Heuser of Albany, a field hockey player, was also featured in Faces in the Crowd earlier this year. So Albany continuing to do big, big things. And the Great Danes featured in Faces in the Crowd, and also had a rower from Niskayuna featured in Faces in the Crowd. So this is not the first time that the Capital Region has gotten exposure nationally in one of the biggest magazines there is nationally when it comes to sports. Sticking with Albany, Joe Cremo, so the freshman basketball player out of Scotia, he is up for mid-major freshman of the year. So what they do is they have regions and do an NCAA-style tournament, and they have freshman of the year at the mid-major level. Joe Cremo and Nico Clarith are both up for that award. Nico Clarith from Siena, so both those players averaged double figures this year. Clarith started some games for the Saints when Marquise Wright was injured. They're different kind of players. Joe Cremo is don't say a word, grind it out, just work harder than you. Nico Clarith is flashy. He's a lot of fun to watch. So they're two totally contrasting styles, but they're both great players, and they're both going to be here in the Capital Region for 3 more years. There's a link to those polls to vote for each of them for freshman of the year at the mid-major level at 1045theteam.com. Last check, Joe Cremo was winning his matchup. Nico Clarith was just trailing in his, but it was like 52 to 48%. So maybe this can be the last push to go get Nico over the hump, and then we can get a Joe Cremo and Nico Clarith. They can continue to move on in the mid-major bracket. Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. So I promised you my NCAA predictions. I'm going to go college hockey first. Remember, East Regional action at the Times Union Center today. Quinnipiac and RIT, the first game at 4 o'clock. Yale and UMass Lowell, the second game. I'm going to go first game, Quinnipiac beats RIT because Quinnipiac 29 wins, the number one seed in the tournament. They've scored first 29 times this year. RIT has allowed their opponent to score first 23 times this year. RIT was the last team into the tournament. I'm going with the Bobcats to take down the Tigers. They will advance to tomorrow. And the second game, Yale and UMass Lowell. I'm going with Yale. I think they're going to pull the upset because everyone I've seen has picked UMass Lowell, and because of Yale's goaltending, I know how physical UMass Lowell is, but because of Yale's goaltending, I think that they have a real chance. Alex Lyon, 6 shutouts this year. Just an unbelievable unbelievable netminder. Yale, he's got a 1.59 goals against average. He had 5 shutouts, rather, in 30 games played. That was 6 in the country. So 5 shutouts, 1 out of every 6 games for Alex Lyon is a shutout. I am going with the Bulldogs to continue the momentum off their basketball season. And they will win in hockey tomorrow. You will get a Quinnipiac-Yale final here in the East Regional. I will go with Quinnipiac to win that. The Bobcats will advance out of this region, the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. Switching over to hoops, my predictions, Villanova and Kansas. I've got Kansas taking down the Wildcats, and they're going to do it. It's going to be close. I'm going to go 76-68. Kansas, I like Wayne Selton Jr. I like Perry Ellis. I think Frank Mason is great for Kansas as well. I love Ryan Arcidiacono for the Wildcats, but Kansas gets it done. Oklahoma, I like them to top Oregon. It's going to be a track meet. It's going to be 81-76. Buddy Hield's the best player in the tournament. I think he goes off again. He has played so well in this tournament. He continues to shoot it well from the outside. Oregon's very, very athletic, but Buddy Hield takes the game over. North Carolina's going to wipe the floor with Notre Dame. They put up 101 yesterday against Indiana. They win that game 85-67. And then Virginia beats Syracuse pretty handily as well. It'll be a low scoring. It'll be an ugly game. It'll be 68-56 in favor of the Cavaliers. My championship will be Kansas against North Carolina. I picked Kansas all along, but North Carolina looks like the best team in the tournament. If they get any semblance of outside shooting, they're going to be very, very tough to beat. I think Roy Williams is a better coach than Bill Self. I like Bryce Johnson. I like Marcus Page. And Paul Lucas, the uniform expert, told me, based on aesthetics, North Carolina's got to be your champion. I'm reversing my pick. I did have Kansas originally, but North Carolina looks like the best team now. The Tar Heels win the championship. And maybe, look, I got another show next week before we get to the championship game. I'll have an opportunity to change it again if I really want to. But right now, I am sticking with the Tar Heels. Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number 1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. Mohawk Honda, they go out of their way to better service you by having great customer service. You can ask Tiffany, Katie, or V-Day about the Mohawk Exchange Program, in which you can upgrade your current vehicle to a newer one with no money down for the same or lower payment. You can just ask Tiffany, Katie, or V-Day, see just how easy it is to do just that. If new isn't for you, they inventory over 300 of the highest quality pre-owned vehicles at one low, below market value, no hassle price. Being number 1 isn't easy to, but Mohawk Honda, they treat their customers with respect and have been doing it for over almost 100 years. 4 generations of the Harrington family going above and beyond to proudly serve the Capital Region. Shop the convenient Route 50 in Glenville location. Mohawk Honda, where they go out of their way to please you. Capital Region Sports Saturday. We'll see you next week.